Hey, we have three people in the waiting room, okay?
Okay.
Oof. So how do we do it live again? Now we just go like this, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. So I'm picking Facebook, right?
Yes.
Okay. Should we have a constitution?
Uh, maybe
So let's
the
say like
next.
we're gathered, this meeting today is for individuals. The only requirement to join our session today is a desire to increase our earnings. Uh, 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 in these sessions, we will discuss tactics and
Your
strategy.
video. Sorry, your video is not on.
Why did you do that? Okay, there we go.
Okay. Yeah.
Strategy
Perfect.
to increase our market equity, value, and compensation. I am your host, Shane Phillips, CEO of Phillips Group and founder of Own My Career. This is an interactive session, and so people will limit sharing to 3 minutes. Fine, here we go. We just wrote the Constitution. I'm going to let everybody in now. Here it goes.
Okay. Yep.
All three of them are coming in. Again, I'm going to go live now. Boom. It's going live, I think.
Yes.
Timeline.
Hi, Shane. Good morning.
Oh, hi. Oh, I'm supposed to share it on Own My Career, not on my timeline, no?
Yes.
So I messed that up. Good morning. Hi. Thanks for joining. It's our first live streaming, which I think I messed up. So 1 second here. Stop the live stream. Okay. How you guys doing?
I'm fine, not bad. Just to let you know, I have to keep them the video down because I'm in the office.
Okay, no worries. I'm sharing it now on Own My Career.
Okay. Let me refresh.
There we go. Okay, you guys can turn your videos on if you want. If you'd like, VJ and Cherian and Massimo. I think it's better if you have your video on.
Massimo just said that he's in office, so that's why he's turned it off.
Okay. What should this thing be called then? It's the first one, so I guess I should know that before we go live. Okay, so there we go. So it's live now. There we go. Okay, I guess nobody wants to put their video on. Okay, so thanks for coming. The only requirement to be part of this session is a desire to increase our earnings or to increase our compensation. And that's what we'll be discussing in this session. So we'll be looking at tactics, strategies that are used to increase your market equity, to increase your market value, increase your compensation. I'm your host, Shane Phillips. I'm the CEO of the Phillips Group, and I am founder of ownmycareer.com. And this is an interactive session, so if people want to share or they want to ask questions, you are more than encouraged to do so, and we will limit individual sharing to 3 minutes. So, if you are sharing something, if you start to pass at 2.5 minutes, I'll send you a warning, and we'll try to stop people from sharing for more than 3 minutes at a time. So
We have messages on the chat box.
yes, right. There is messages on the chat box. And this is Angelo. He's the one, if you watch any of our videos, He is the guy who is editing our videos, and he's our digital media manager. So,
Hi, everyone.
so he can also assist with anything. So I guess with that, I'll start unless anyone has some immediate questions. Okay. Not a lot of questions coming in at the beginning here. That's fine. So I just wanted to talk about mistakes people make in the first 5 minutes, because we've all interviewed people, and we've all said in the first 5 minutes, as soon as a person walks in through the door, no, we're not hiring this person. I mean, you felt that. You don't say it. You complete the interview, but the interview was over before it started. So what are some of the mistakes? First of all, I think it's the dress. So, okay, obviously I'm not going for an interview right now, but I don't have a tie on. So, you know, the worst is sometimes you see people, they come in with sunglasses on their head. That's personally a pet peeve of mine. And I just feel that it's disrespectful that somebody's coming in to interview for a job with me and they have sunglasses on their head. They're not really taking it seriously. I can also notice that as well with some of the female clients I have. They can also take it as an insult that you're not respecting them as a professional. So be careful how you dress. I've also had people where the shirt doesn't fit, so they have their tie, but the top button's not buttoned because it doesn't actually fit. So these are all things that are showing that you're not a premium brand. So when you walk in, you really want to also, as an interviewer, we'll look at like, are you groomed? Are your fingernails groomed? Did you get a fresh haircut? Are you freshly shaven? These are signs of, you know, are you disciplined? Are you groomed? Are you under duress? So if I'm interviewing you and your fingernails aren't trimmed, I'll start to think that you're under duress, or that you may be getting terminated, or you might be getting let go. And that will come back to bite you when we come into the salary negotiation. So as we end up the salary negotiation, you may be playing a poker's bluff, like, hey, I'm not going to move unless I get X. But I'll say, well, he hasn't had a haircut in, 2 months. His fingernails are ungroomed. His shirt is not ironed. I'm pretty sure that this person is under a lot of stress, under a lot of duress. They're probably about to get terminated if they're not already on leave notice. So we'll be more aggressive with you in the salary negotiation. On the flip side, what do you really want to do is, when you look at, you want to walk in and you want the message, the subliminal dialogue that's going on, to say, I'm a premium brand. So get a new suit, have the haircut, have the nails trimmed, be well groomed, is really saying, I'm the Rolls Royce of candidates. I'm the Lamborghini of candidates. You'll never see a Rolls Royce with rust on it. I mean, has anyone ever seen a Rolls Royce that's rusty? Most likely you don't even see them dirty. When you see a Lamborghini, they're always clean, they're shined, nice paint job. So if you want to get a premium, and that's what we're talking about, is how do you, if you're going to take that job, how do you get them to say, I'm a premium brand? So any premium brand or product in the world has premium branding. You're never going to see a premium product or brand that has bad branding. Or if you do see a low value or a value brand or an economy brand, they usually have no branding or limited branding or bad branding. So that's the first part, is the look and the feel, and also the handshake. Of course, in some cultures, and especially in the COVID environment, it's not appropriate to shake hands. So if you do shake hands, make sure you shake it correct. This comes down to the next piece, which is also no energy, no spark, no insight. So a lot of times you go to interviews and it's like you feel like you're at a funeral, because you're not excited about what you do. And you have to look at, what is our experience as human beings. Our experience is emotional. Emotion is contagious. If I yawn right now, the statistical probability of someone else on this session actually yawning is very high. So what you want to do is, you want to be excited about what you're doing, and you are in a sales process. So if I'm selling you this cup, the sale is made when the excitement and passion that's in my heart about my product or service is transferred into the mind of my prospect. So sorry, it's just a cough. I don't have COVID, but when you're in a sale, when you're selling yourself, if you're not excited, if there's no energy there, like you're just missing the whole point. So this is like when for someone who's interviewing people all the time, you come in, you meet the person, they're not dressed properly, they have sunglasses on their head, they haven't shaved, they haven't, they're not groomed. You're saying, wow, I can't present this person. This is what happens is you cannot present. If you go in to meet a hiring manager, the hiring manager will say, do I want to introduce this person to my chairman? And the answer right away becomes no. Then you start talking to them and you might be so excited to speak to the person because say they're a chief marketing officer and you want to talk about, customer segmentation, consumer insights, the psychology of why people are actually using your product. So for example, you look at a book like this, Get Your Dream Job. Did you know that the average customer of books on Amazon might purchase up to 60 books a year and that they're actually not reading those books? So every single person on this call has books on your bookshelf that you bought, but you did not read. So that's a very interesting consumer insight that, hey, we're selling something that people want to buy, but actually they won't read. Hello? I think we had a question there, or? Okay. So you're excited to talk to this chief marketing officer and hear their consumer insights, and then the person's totally flat and there's no energy and they're not excited. And so you go into the interview this excited to talk to the person, and within 2 minutes, your energy levels are like borderline suicidal because they're so not excited about what they're doing. And very quickly, the dialogue starts to disintegrate. So what you want to do is you really want to have that energy, you want to have that insight, and you want to be the other thing that really deflates me when I'm interviewing people in the first 5 minutes is the lack of intellectual curiosity. And the fact that most people are, I was just reading what Vijay wrote, that he had to attend an interview with a glove and mask on during the pandemic, which is fine. That's fine. But you can still be excited about what you're doing. And a lot of people don't exhibit that intellectual curiosity. So what does that mean, intellectual curiosity? It means that most people are professionally illiterate. It means that you haven't read any book about your profession and you don't have anything to say. So for example, I come to the table and I'm interviewing for a job to be a head of talent acquisition, for example. I might say to the person across the desk, do you know, so I sit down, they say hi, I say, hi, how are you? How are you doing? I said, yeah, I'm really excited. There's so many exciting things happening right now in our industry. And I actually, aside from the interview, I was just interested to ask you a couple questions about our function. Do you mind? And the person gives me permission. Yeah, sure, go ahead. Said, graphology is used in murder trials and is admissible as evidence. And from someone's writing, a graphologist can tell who the murderer was, and it's admissible as evidence in court. How come, if there's so much information being pulled by the way someone's handwriting is, how come we do not use that in senior executive assessment? Have you ever thought of using graphology as part of your assessment process? Now, I just read 4 books on graphology. I'd love to show you examples of how they use that in the selection process. Would you like me to see it? Now, right away, there's an intellectual curiosity there. There's a reading. I'm referencing statistics. I'm referencing real world data. They use this in court, admissible on a murder trial. Why would you not use it in your own executive assessment? Now I'm questioning, I'm bringing to the table a lot of questions about how should we do our job? What should the future of this profession look like? How should we structure this function within the organization? So whether you're looking at talent acquisition, you're looking at finance, you're looking at logistics, you're looking at HR, you're looking at whatever your function is, marketing, sales, goes on, the list goes on, strategy, Are we using the latest technologies, the latest approaches, the latest strategies? And if not, why not? And you know what? I'm here to interview, fine. But you know what? I'm so excited to talk to Massimo or Balaji or VJ because you are a leader in this field. And by the way, interview aside, I'm so curious about this. I just had to ask you, did you ever think of using graphology in your assessment process? Did you ever think of using da-da-da-da-da-da? Now that dialogue becomes very exciting, and it starts to question, how does this function work? How does this function, what should this function look like in order for us to optimize our business? And so when we're talking about just the topic of today's session, which is mistakes people make in their first 5 minutes, is this lack of insight, of this lack of spark, that people are so focused on, like, can you give me a job? And that's not going to cut it in this market. So for example, we're interviewing a head of HR. Literally, true story. We've placed 4 heads of HR in the last 2 weeks. So this is very live. This is a real example. So where does it come? So just to give you a real hands-on example of how this works. I have an interview with the head of HR. I am so excited to talk to this person about incentives and motivation and how we're motivating our people. At the end of the day, that's what your HR is, to help the CEO make sure that they have engaged the staff, that they have motivated the staff, that they have ignited the staff, that we're driving the staff to peak performance, and what are all the toolkit that from an HR perspective we can use. And one of them is definitely we need to talk about motivation and incentives and rewards. So I come to the table to say, wow, I really can't wait to talk about what are the latest techniques for motivating and incentivizing staff. And when you talk to the head of HR, they're really not able to hold a discussion on it. When you're saying, you know, can you give me an example of an incentive program that doesn't work and one that does work? Or you have the head of HR who comes to the table, and when I ask them that question, he or she says, well, Shane, it's a very fascinating topic because we actually don't understand motivation at all. You have companies like Wikipedia that have PhDs, which have world-renowned experts working for free, and then competing against companies like Encyclopedia Britannica that are paying top dollar for the same expertise. And they wipe the floor with Encyclopedia Britannica because as professionals, we really do not understand human motivation. Why is it that one company can get the top experts of the world to work for free for them, and another company can pay top dollar and top incentive and have people quitting and leaving and can't engage their staff at all? And fundamentally, everything we know about motivation is wrong that we're implementing within our organization. So even if, you know, and then all of a sudden that kind of dialogue draws you in. You say, wow, this person is really, really thinking about what we're actually doing. And I can promise you that in every company that you look at, there's nobody that's got it right. And the proof's in the pudding, because if you look at the Fortune 500 list, it has a 44% turn. So that means that every year, almost half of the Fortune 500 companies drop off the list. So there's zero staying power there. And which means that your incentive and compensation programs are not optimized. They're not effective. Your sales and marketing programs are off. Your understanding of your psychographic of your customer is wrong. Your understanding of your customer value proposition is wrong. The understanding of your employee value proposition is off. So where are really we going to get the edge on? So we want candidates who are intellectually curious and want to be the defining brushstroke of their industry. Where is this industry going? How can we participate in the future of the industry?
We have a question from Mr. Cherian in the chat box.
Okay. When tackling the ATS, is the job description the only text the system is programmed apart from the jobs roles? Is there any other information source to bespoke the CV? So basically it looks like Cherian is asking, how do I beat the algorithm that's selecting on, kind of keywords? And I think that's a fair question. So here, he's trying to make the system work in his favor. And so one key thing that you can do is somewhere on your CV at the bottom, you can write in keywords in white ink, all the buzzwords for your industry. And that won't show up to the human eye, but the computer doesn't care what ink you write in. It will pick up that text. And that's one way to put as many buzzwords in your CV as possible. You can also put it into the footer section of your CV in the Word doc. So, or if you're PDFing it, it will also show up. Overall, though, you really need to, I think 5 to 10% of your time should be applying to these jobs. And yes, looking at the job description and looking at other job descriptions, or you can also look at LinkedIn profiles of people who are doing that job and what are the buzzwords or common industry terms that they're using, and add those into your CV. But I think you also need to be reaching out directly to the business unit heads. So, for example, if you, I don't know, what does Cherian do? I don't know if I can use you as a live example. I can go on, and if you give me an industry to work on, does anyone want to suggest a profession? I can show you in live how this works. There's a Cherian who's a neurosurgeon. So let's say it's a neurosurgeon. Okay.
Aviation. Mr. Cherian has just said aviation as an example.
Oh, okay. Well, I started with neurosurgeon, so I'll do both. But so basically, what you want to do is just quickly make a list of all the top neurosurgeons in the city, and then look at what are the top current cutting edge trends that neurosurgeons are using, and say, hey, Dr. Smith, I'd love to come and just have a chat with you. I saw that now they're using virtual, non-invasive, microscopic brain surgery in California. Have you ever thought of using it here? I'd love to get your thoughts. If you're in aviation, aviation is a massive, massive segment. So, you have, for example, when you look at aviation now in the Middle East, what's happened is the big carriers and the local carriers have been hit very hard with the COVID crisis. But the charter planes are actually seeing boom in business because ultra high net worth or high net worth individuals are not comfortable flying business class. They're more comfortable chartering their own private flights. And so private jets and private charters have kind of skyrocketed during the COVID crisis. So, so where do you actually target? And then look at the people who are running those businesses. Or if you're doing food catering for aviation, for example, you say, hey, have you looked at the latest technologies that people are using in food catering? I'd love to just come and talk to you about it. If it was me, I could look at the owners of the top 20 search firms and say, hey, I'd love to come and chat with you guys and look at how people are using social media to drive executive search sales. So on one hand, in order for you to really be effective at finding a job, you almost have to let go of the idea of finding a job. I know that it sounds a little counterintuitive, but if you can follow me here, is that what's happening is, and Cherian's actually, I think, doing things, somewhat intelligently in the sense that, you want to apply, you want to use your CV, you want to apply to a job, you want to make sure that your CV fits that job, and you have the industry buzzwords to beat the algorithm that's going to turn your CV to the top. Absolutely right thing to do. But you want to complement this by also saying, hey, I'm really interested in being successful in my profession. I'd love to talk to the people who are in the top 1% for my job and just share information with them to understand what makes someone great in this job. So if you look at Einstein, for example, Einstein would purposely go and seek out the top physicists at the time and hang out with them. And he created a music group where the physicists would come, they would play music together, and they would talk about physics in between playing songs. And Einstein did this because he wanted to develop his mind, and he knew how important it was for him to interact with other very intelligent people in physics. So if you want to develop yourself, you want to identify who are the top 1% for your profession, and you want to interact with them, and you want to share information about what makes this industry tick. So if you're logistics, go meet the top 10 logistics CEOs and talk about what are the latest warehousing strategies, or how do you reduce your utility costs across the logistics value chain? What are the latest strategies for that? You should be naturally excited about these things, or get into a profession that you are excited about. And then once you're doing this kind of interaction, you will naturally find that jobs will be handed over to you. LinkedIn has the easy apply now button. Does it flow to another inbox, or does it go to the recruiter? When you hit this easy apply now button on LinkedIn, it's impossible to manage, because you will have 5,000 or 10,000 people applying on this button, and you're just overwhelmed as a recruiter. You cannot respond to these. You can't even, because they show you 25 on a page at a time. And so just scrolling through, if you have 3,000 applicants, just to scroll through those 3,000 applicants can take you like half a day. And if a company has 50 open jobs and you've all applied on LinkedIn, and each of those 50 jobs has 3,000 people, you pretty quickly have, like, what is that, 150,000 people? Or is that right? Or is it, let me just double check my math here. You hire me not for your account. Yeah, 150,000. So I have my math correct. So that's 150,000 people. It's impossible to review that. So that goes back to Cherian's point where, hey, will we use an algorithm to kind of help us select the top 100? Absolutely. So you need those industry buzzwords in there. But this is what I'm saying to you, is that when you look at this process, even if you do what Cherian's saying and you try to game the algorithm, you're still one of 1,000 people. So it's not necessarily your best bet moving forward. What you really want to do is start to interact with the people who can be your new boss. And I think this is due diligence 101. If you were investing $2 million of your own cash, would you not want to know who's on the board of that company? Would you not want to know? Would you not want to know who's the CEO of that company? Would you not want to know who the CFO of that company is? Would you not want to see the products of that company, the service of that company, the financial statements of that company? So here we are investing more than $2 million. You're investing your life. You're investing the most precious thing you have in this world, which is your time, into a company. And you didn't look at who the board is. You didn't look at who the financials are. You didn't look at the backgrounds of the leadership team. Do you not think that it's a bona fide requirement that you would want to look at these people? And so before you go and make a choice about where you're applying, on one hand, what I'm saying makes a lot of sense because Einstein did it. He went and purposely, because he wanted to develop himself, he met with the greatest physicists. So that's part one. We can say Einstein's not a stupid person. Shane suggesting I use the same strategy as Einstein probably could be a good idea. But let's look at it on another level. you are now investing your life into an organization. Who should you work for? Don't go and meet the people who could be your new boss. Go and meet people who could say you're hired, and ask yourself, A, not do I want to work for this person, but B, ask yourself, do I want to be like this person? You know, and this is the core question that you want to really ask yourself as you develop your career is, who do you want to become? And if you're reporting to someone that you would not want to be like, then you will not last with that person. That job, you will end up leaving within 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because when we resign, what are we really saying? We're not saying we don't like the job. What we're saying is that this is not who I am. My identity is not your identity. I do not want to continue to have my personal identity associated with your brand anymore. You guys are going left and I'm going right. Thank you very much. Masalama. So really taking the time, rather than what happens is, if you don't do what I'm saying, you're going to do it anyway, but you're going to do it on the job. So you're going to get the job, and then, you know, 3 months into the job or within the first month, you're like, oh, I'm not sticking around in this place. Everybody's done that. You get a job and you're like, I'm not going to continue reporting this person. I'm not going to stick around here because it doesn't match my values. It doesn't match my sense of identity. It doesn't match who I am. It doesn't match who I want to become. And these are the important questions that everybody's ignoring, and we're just gravitating onto, give me a job immediately. Because maybe we're under pressure, maybe we're under duress, it is a crisis, and you do need to get that job right away. So what I'm saying is, don't ignore, I mean, it's not one or the other, it's all this stuff can happen at the same time. So do the online job applications, but also go and meet who it is that you'd really want to work for. If you're in aviation, what are all the aviation companies? You have JAFSA. I was working with another candidate. She was in aviation. I said, go to JAFSA, list all the SMEs in JAFSA, okay? And there's like, I don't know, how many companies are there in JAFSA? 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 companies? Angela, if you could just check that and let us know how many companies are in the airport free zone. And out of those, you're going to start to identify SME companies. So this is the other thing, where large companies like Emirates Airlines, for example, they may be, you know, restructuring or letting people go, etc. Small companies with less than 20 people is where your jobs are. So actually 89% of people or 90% of people are employed in a company with less than 500 people. The majority of job growth, 64% of all job growth over the next 12 months is going to come from companies with less than 20 people. So if you're applying with large businesses, companies like, you know, Emirates Airlines that has 60,000 plus employees, you most likely will not see dramatic job growth from the larger players, because they're naturally hiring. When you're a large company, you're hiring for the future because you have to deliver tremendous revenue growth. So you're always hiring 20, 30% of your staff for new businesses, new products, new routes, new lines, new things that you're launching in the future, because there's this growth element to a big business. Smaller companies are almost always understaffed. And as they win projects, they then start trying to hire as they launch a new project. If you're a small company of 10 people, you'll launch a product and see if it sells. Then if that product or service starts selling, you're like, oh, we better staff this up. And that's how that works, because you don't have access to credit, you don't have access to investor money. You're really running on a cash in, cash out basis. So that's why you're almost always understaffed. So if you wanted to go into aviation, look at JAFSA, look at the SMEs there, look at the companies with less than 50 people, with less than 20 people. Go and then meet the owners. Hey, I was really excited by your business. Why? I remember what I'm saying now. Let go trying to get a job. Why not go down to the office? Do you like the building? Would you like to work there? Who are the people? What are they like? Do you like them? Do you want to be like them? Meet the owner. Is that owner somebody, is she or he somebody that you would like to be like? Or are they maniacal psychopaths that you're like, wow, I don't even want to be in the same room as this person? Ask yourself those questions. In my hometown, I think there was a dentist who went to South Africa and shot a lion, and he killed a lion, and he had a picture of himself with this lion on his Facebook, and everybody in town thought that, you know, this was the worst thing that someone could do because you killed this majestic animal. And he was basically demonized, and actually some of his staff quit. People did not want to be associated with this person who was killing lions and etc. So it's just a simple example where you're saying, you know, like, is this somebody who shares the same values as you? To give you, you know, like a very simple example, you take a person who's a security guard at concerts. So they do rock concerts, and the person is a rocker. They love Metallica, Guns N' Roses, and all this kind of music. Now that same person, he has the skill set to run security at a concert. He is then hired to do security at a hip hop concert, where it's like rap music, etc. And he starts interacting with the rappers or the hip hoppers who are in the crowd, and he becomes aggravated, and his performance on his job drops. Although it's the exact same job, because he's in an environment that he doesn't like, his performance drops, versus if he is actually being security at a rock concert, he actually performs much better in his job. So you'll be the same way, is that when you look at the company that you want to work at, does that culture fit you? Does that leadership fit you? And I just find that people are totally skipping that piece and just applying the jobs online. And it's like, well, who are you working with? Do you not want to know? Do you not want to see the place? Do you not want to meet the people? And the number one thing that you want to understand, which even like my closest friends, a lot of them skip this. A lot of times my friends will say, oh, Shane, you know, when they get an offer, what happens? The first person they call is me. And they say, oh, I got this offer. It's really exciting, da, da, da. And I say, well, who's the board? Who are the board members? Oh, I don't know. Well, who owns the company? This fundamentally is going to dictate what the culture of the organization is like, what's the vision of the organization, what's the strategy of the organization, what are we going to do in the future? So some companies, they're owned by private equity, they're going to exit, they're going to sell their business. So you know that, you know, in 3, 4, 5 years, you're there to ramp up value and then exit. Some board members are, you know, 90 years old, and they just want dividends from the business. They're low risk, they're conservative, they're traditional, and, you know, there's not going to be a lot of ambitious risk that's going to be taken with that organization. So I've had other candidates who are really innovative and they want to really do things differently, but the board is so conservative that they won't write the check and release resources for those new things. So those people become very frustrated, they end up quitting. The last thing you want to do is take a job where you're going to quit in 1 year. So these are some of the elements that you really want to look at. Sorry, there's a question here.
There are a couple of questions.
Okay.
Before we go to Mr. Cherian's question, we have Mr. Prabhakar's question.
Okay. How do I see it? I have this question here, which is, who has more to say? Is that the one?
No, it's just before that. He's asking, as you mentioned.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned the first 5 minutes decides the candidate's profile. Is it the eye contact and the body language with the interview that decides and clears them? So it's a variety of things. So when you interact with someone, you're the largest part, or let me ask you this, what's the #1 language spoken in the world today? What is the #1 language today in the world? Somebody answered. Somebody has to give me an answer here. Either type it or turn your video on and join us. Don't be so shy. Mandarin, nope. English, nope. Arabic, nope. Everybody's swinging at air here. You know what swinging at air means? It means in American baseball, when you're at bat, you're trying to hit the ball, you're swinging at air. Body language, there you go, Cherian got it. Okay, so your body language is your #1 language. So when you meet someone, 80 to 90% of the dialogue that's taking place between two people is subconscious, which means you are not conscious of that dialogue that's taking place. So subconsciously, the brain is assessing, is this person an alpha? Is this person a beta? Is this person confident? Is this person a liar? Is this person a cheater? Is this person honest? Does this person have integrity? Your subconscious mind is assessing all of that, and you get a gut feeling. A gut feeling, the term gut feeling comes because organs like your stomach and your lungs, for example, if you think about your favorite food, your stomach will start excreting acid and stuff. If you do not think about your stomach will subconsciously say, okay, we're hungry, we need to eat. So these organs are bridges between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. So your lungs, for example, they work on their own, but consciously you can access your lungs and take a breath. So these bridges between the conscious and subconscious mind is where that communication takes place, because they can't talk to each other directly upstairs. So they meet downstairs, and then that's where you have the saying, I have a gut feeling about this person. I have a gut feeling about this. So that's going to be taking place. Now, just to go back to this question, that includes how you're talking, what kind of language you're using, what kind of tone of voice you're using, what you look like, how you're dressed, your body language, how you shake hands, or if you don't shake hands, how all of those things. So all of that is taking place in the first 5 minutes. And then importantly is how you start that dialogue. So are you referencing studies? You know, a lot of times when you meet with senior people, you ask them a question and they basically are just telling you, I mean, I don't know how to explain this because I do it every day, but just, so for example, if you ask a C-level candidate and you say, oh, can you tell us a little bit about what you've done from a strategic perspective, or what's your view on strategy? And then they'll say some very blasé thing, which anybody off the street can say, where they'll say, you know, well, I think in strategy, it's very important to know who your customer is and to have an understanding of what your P&L is doing and where the market is going. And we have to operate in a volatile, blah, blah, blah. And they start just saying this buzz stuff versus, yes, from a strategic perspective, when you look at our main competitors, Honeywell, Siemens, they have been investing 44% of their CapEx has been in fringe economies like the Middle East and Africa, where when you look at other Asian, and he starts to mention statistics, he starts to mention studies, they start to mention annual reports from the competitors. Now, this is what an expert is. So going back to what happens in your first 5 minutes of your discussion in that subliminal dialogue, what are we looking for? As we said, body language, are you dressed right? Are you looking right? Now, are you speaking right? Now, are you speaking with the executive mindset? So, for example, someone might say, Shane, I joined McKinsey and then I became a partner. And then same story, but the person says it, Shane, I joined McKinsey and at the age of 39, I became one of the youngest partners in the world for the firm. Now, what's the subliminal dialogue of that? The person's telling me they have a sense of urgency, they understand time, the value of time, that they're goal-oriented because they're setting goals. They had a goal to be a partner before, not just to become a partner, but to become a partner before they were 40 and to become one of the youngest partners in the firm. So these are all now going into a subconscious dialogue, which I'm looking for psychological markers of a top performer. What are the psychological markers of a top performer? Intellectual curiosity, results orientation, competitive spirit, sense of time, sense of urgency, and time management. So a top performer, someone who has a championship mindset, they won't just set a goal. They'll set a goal within a very, very limited time limit. So somebody who's an average performer will say, look, I'm gonna, I need to lose some weight. I'm gonna eat healthy. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna do my best and see how it goes. Someone who's a real top performer will say, I'm only gonna eat 1,500 calories a day, which means that in lunch, I can only have 120 grams of rice. So they start measuring their rice, they start measuring their carbs, they start measuring their calories, and then they'll start measuring their time. They'll say, every month I'm going to lose 3 kgs. So by the end of the 3rd month, by the time we get to December, I will have lost 9 kgs, 9 to 10 kgs, and my caloric intake per week will only be X. So you can start to see how that number. So I'm just going back, although I don't know if you're following me, I'm actually answering Prabhakar's question about what happens in the first 1 to 5 minutes. So that subconscious dialogue is taking place in the sense that this person is going to say, well, are you using numbers? Are you articulating results in numbers? Are you results driven? Do you have a sense of time urgency? So how do we communicate that? The way that you answer is giving a subliminal answer to the subconscious dialogue is taking place between you and the interviewer, where they're saying, yeah, this person is really results oriented. This person is a top performer. They don't really know why they're coming up with that, but when you break down the metrics, this is why. So I don't know if that's a long answer.
Thank you very much for that answer. It was rather long and very useful tips from your side.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Vijay speaking with me. Finally, turn your video on, Vijay. Come on, let's see.
Yeah, just a minute. My kids got free now. They are free now, so I'm free to open my video as well.
Hi. Thank you.
In fact, I'm from India. I just take a few minutes from you. Just a point of one more point. I think you missed out, or it's very relevant in that topic. In fact, the genuinity of a person. See, that is like the plus point or minus point of a person. Does it decide the person's what do you call the genuine nature, or he is just making a point to prove himself, just by making some extra bullet points which is not relevant to the job. That is which is fitting that job, that person's profile into that vacancy or the post which is applied for. I'm not sure whether you got my question right, or should you?
Angelo, do you understand what he's saying? I don't understand.
Okay, that is like the genuinity of a person. See, for interview, genuineness.
If the person is genuine or not.
Genuine, yeah. The person who is talking, whether he is talking genuinely, that is whether he is talking the right thing, whether he is talking the positive points, or whether he is talking the. In fact, in short, it's not lying for the fact. What he is saying. What he's telling to the interviewer is genuinely from his heart. It's
basically,
not like
are they facts or not?
Yes, yeah, that's what. Does it have any relevant aspect on the getting the job, or just to catch the attention of the interviewer? What will be your viewpoint on that? See, I'm telling you from my example. I tell you one.
I will be explaining in an interview, but in life, the truth will set you free. And I think having a high integrity is critical for leadership. If people want to work with you, they need to be able to predict if I'm working with Vijay, how will he react to the information I'm presenting him? How will he react to so I can make a prediction on how a relationship will be in 6 months. You need to have integrity. You have to be predictable. You have to be candid, and people need to be able to trust your word. So actually, not only just in the interview, but whether it's with your marriage, with your staff, with your customers, with anything that you do, I think you need to be authentic. And it's also it's a very interesting concept, because what happens is we are encouraged to lie throughout life, and what that does is it robs you from your success. So what, for example, somebody's raised and their father's a doctor, so there's a lot of pressure for that individual to become a doctor as well. But that person, maybe they're a poet, maybe they're a boxer, maybe they're a great farmer, and instead of being true to themselves and following what they really should do in life or what God created them to do, they end up becoming a doctor. And fine, it's a good profession, but they're never going to self-actualize and be the best doctor in the world, or be the best that they could be, or reach their full capabilities. There's a story of Napoleon, the great general who died, and when he went to heaven, he met God. And Napoleon said, "Oh, God, God said, look, Napoleon, you accomplished a lot. I'll give you the honor of asking me one question. You can ask me one question, and that's it." So Napoleon said, "God, who's the greatest general that ever lived?" And he's like, "There, the guy's right there." So Napoleon looks and he says, that's my stable boy. I know him. He was working for me. And God said, yeah, but he was the greatest general ever lived. He was just never given the opportunity. He never became a general, but I created him as the greatest general that ever lived. And so this is what happens when you go back to, should you lie? The truth, it's a very complex question you're asking me. Sometimes you have to have the courage to tell the truth and allow your life to collapse so you can build the real thing that God intended you to. Because some people go in a profession, they propagate a lie that I'm a great salesperson, I'm a great marketing person, I'm a great IT person, when really they should be doing something else. Yeah. And if you just stood up and said, you know what, I messed this up, I'm not really that good at that, and get into and that truth, that will set you free. So yes, you can lie, and you can lie yourself into a job, but who's really getting robbed? You are, because you're robbing yourself of your true success. There's a greatness that lies in you, and unfortunately, the people we lie the most to is ourselves. And when you wake up, like for me in my life, I played football at the university level. That was a lie I was living because I'm asthmatic. As a child, I was asthmatic, and I was administered into the hospital. I don't know why. A lot of people don't know this, but I almost died. And the doctors told me, you shouldn't play sports. But I was so caught on this image of being a jock and being athletic that I pushed myself to be a football player, and I'm talking American football. But when I got to university, I could never compete with the natural athletes because I'm asthmatic. And I'm much better at doing what I'm doing now, which is talking, interacting, and helping people. And so getting into my natural state helps me become more successful. So the second you're lying in an interview, in life, with your partner, with your wife, with your employees, you're robbing yourself of your success. I would say don't do it. And you will be surprised when you come to people. For example, you take something simple. Somebody was supposed to be on a call and they missed the call. And then somebody else will come on to the client and say, you know what? I was trapped in an elevator and I couldn't, they make up some lie. Versus they say, you know what? I had an honest mistake. It wasn't in my calendar and I messed that up. I really made a big mistake there. You'll get more respect and more trust out of being honest than you do with the lie. And then what happens with the lie? The lie leads to another lie, leads to another lie, which robs you of your life. Because all of a sudden people wake up in their 50s. I coach those people. I work with those people. And they're like, Shane, I'm the partner of an audit firm for Deloitte or PwC. And, I wanted to be in media. I never wanted to be in audit. And then they say, oh, this guy's having a midlife crisis. Why? Because he was forced into the societal lie. Have the courage to be honest and find your true success. Find the power of your soul will only be unlocked when you have that courage to be brutally honest.
Thank you very much. I never lied in my life. And just to inform you, for the sake of asking questions, I just put the question of a word, specifically the word called genuinity of a person in life.
Yeah. I never say that you lied, DJ. I wasn't.
No, I'm just telling you one. Yeah, I understand.
But I would say, you know what? I lie every day because I wake up and you say, oh, I'm not that fat. I'm not that old. I'm smarter than average. No, I'm not. You know that 86% of people rank themselves in a study. 86% of people rank themselves above average looking, which is statistically impossible to have 86%. So more than average people be above average. It doesn't work. The stats don't work. So, by getting to the root of the fact that, by nature, like if you look at, for example, in the animal kingdom, 2 gorillas meet and one gorilla puffs up his chest. So he's lying. He's trying to make himself look bigger. That's what we naturally do in life. And I was listening to, I think it was the Dalai Lama. He said, look, be like the ocean. Let yourself come down. The lowest point on earth is the ocean. And you think that we want to be high like the mountain. We want to push yourself up. But what happens with the ocean, everything flows into the ocean. Eventually, if you're patient and you're like the ocean, everything comes to you. And I think that's like your job search in a sense that we have to focus on a career management strategy and not on getting a job. And when you focus on the let go of trying to find a job and saying, hey, how do I become a better professional? I'm so excited. What do you do, Vijay, if I can ask?
In fact, I was working in a bank. Now, unfortunately, lost my job 3 months before. So I'm
Okay.
just searching for a job.
Yeah. So, for example, you take a banker, for example. Now, I was at a function, and just going back to the first 5 minutes of the interview. So I was at a function, I'm at a dinner, and there's two people sitting at my desk or at my table from Bank of America. Now, Bank of America has an amazing, amazing history. So I say, hey, do you guys know how your bank was founded? And they say, no. Do you know who Amedeo Giannini is? They say, no. Do you know who the founder of Bank of Italy is? And they say, no. Do you know how the branch network was founded? And they say, no. And immediately you go back to my point in the first 5 minutes, there's no insight, there's no spark, there's no energy. There's no real value of what the banker, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about these people from Bank of America that I was sitting with. Bank of America was founded by an Italian immigrant who was sick of farmers starving to death in the winter because they didn't have working capital for their farms. If you were a farmer and your farm froze, you didn't have working capital for your farm, you died. And Amedeo Giannini said, that is not going to happen. I'm going to make a bank for the people, and I'm going to make sure people have working capital. And you know how he gave his loans? He would grab their hands, and he would see if they had calluses on their hands or how hard they worked. And he would then give them working capital to plant a new harvest. And they called it Bank of America. And you know what he did? He invented the branch network because he said, we need a branch in every single city to help every single farmer, to have every single working class person to emancipate the working class. And he invented the branch network. And so you sit all of a sudden across from someone whose bank had such an epic part to play and they know nothing of it. And then you all of a sudden get disengaged with them. So that was it. So I guess let's move on to the next question. But Vijay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
For that. What's the next question here we have? For someone.
From Sharian. Actually, from Saif, Mr. Saif, we have a question from Mr. Saif.
I saw you on LinkedIn.
He bought your book as well.
Yeah, every Monday. Well, thanks for buying the book. It's basically, well, it has answer to every single thing that you really need. And, I'm very thankful that you bought it. Send me a WhatsApp and happy to go through it with you. Every Monday, every Wednesday at 12 p.m., we're going to do this free for people.
He's showing you the book. He just showed you the book.
Really? Where?
Mr. Saif, could you, yeah, there it is.
I can't see it. How come you can see it?
You have to put it in gallery mode.
Oh, am I not in gallery mode? Oh, there we go. Oh, all right. Wow, Mr. Saif. Okay, sweet. I like your ceiling too, wherever you are. It's pretty well, you got some good interior design happening over there.
Well, thank you. It's all about keeping the positive energy around.
Ah,
Thank you very much, Shane.
so you had a question. What was your question?
I have a question. I didn't join early in the call or in the seminar, but I wasn't sure if this is off topic or no. But I'm working on transitioning careers, transitioning industries, and I wasn't sure what's the best approach to achieving that, since the experience that I would have in the work is not as leverageable in the new industry.
Yeah, I think what you need to do is, I just created this in the second version of the book, but since you bought the book, I'm going to send it to you guys. And let me share it. This is not out yet. This is brand new, but this I made specifically for this problem, or this, not problem, but challenge that you are going through. And I think what it is the, it's a career engagement survey that you walk through. Let me just share my screen. So, Angelo is actually, we're releasing this week. So nobody's seen this yet. For you guys. Well, I guess we're recording this, so it's gonna be out, but okay. So here's the career engagement thing. Now, before you go, Ali, and make these decisions, because you're about to make some very big decisions, which will have some lasting effects. So what we do is we look at all the elements that are driving, because when you say something like, hey, I want to change careers, it means that you're not content, you're not happy, and you're not feeling engaged. So, where is that disengagement coming from? So 1, do you like the city and the country that you're living in? 2, do you really like the industry, or are you passionate about it? Is it your company? Maybe, for some people, for example, there was a particular bank that was caught money laundering Mexican drug money, and then they were caught fixing LIBOR rates, and all of a sudden you saw like some staff were like, hey, I don't want to work anymore, and they quit banking. And it was like, wait a second, you didn't need to quit banking, you just needed to stop working for these crooks. So what is it? The company? Is it your product or service? As I mentioned with Amadou at the founding of Bank of America, banking is an amazing industry. That's the foundation of freedom, And so maybe you love the product or service. Well, who are your clients? I heard, Tony Robbins, he was the one who said, look, guys, you don't need to love your company. You don't need to love your product. You need to love your clients. Do you love your clients? I love my clients. And I think when you love your clients, it's such a difference. So this could also be a thing. If you don't like the clients, like I know some people who are defense lawyers and they couldn't stand, defending criminals or whatever, and they hated their clients. Some of them ended up quitting law, but you don't need to do that. You could, what I mean? Your team, who are you working with? Sometimes if you have a horrific team and a bad manager, I've seen people quit industries. The reason why I'm walking through this is I don't want you to quit your industry if you don't need to. Like what happens is you get in the shower, the water is burning hot, and you jump out and immediately you grab the dial and you put the water to freezing, and then you're like, it's freezing, and you go back and forth. Don't do that with your career. Go slow and let's identify what is actually the problem and minimize. See, like to be very successful, people who reach like the higher income brackets, they minimize the amount of change that you need. It's like a chef. You just change the temperature a little bit. So this is what we're zeroing in, is your manager. Now it could be your profession. So for example, in executive search, I compete against people who want to place people in jobs. Well, we don't consider ourselves recruiters. We consider ourselves leadership experts. We consider ourselves career experts. And so that all of a sudden becomes intellectually so much more fascinating for us. So what's your profession? And then the other piece is this identity. This is really huge. Anyway, we're coming out with all this stuff. This is coming out, but the identity piece, what happened with that guy who got, like when they fixed LIBOR and they did the money, people said, I don't want my identity to be as a banker anymore. Well, and they said, for example, what drives me crazy is the ninja loan. No income, no job, no assets. They gave a mortgage. Well, there's a reason why you have a ninja loan. And that was because of slavery. Because when you're a slave and you're working on land and you have no job and you have no income and you have no assets, you're condemned to an economic prison of slavery. And the ninja loan was created to combat that. It is a hallmark, is a touchstone of freedom. It is an emancipation that breaks the shackles of slavery. And you didn't have a single banker stand up and say, the ninja loan is the best thing that happened to our economy. And in fact, having unsecured debt is a critical element of a great society. I never heard a single banker do that, but that's a fundamental truth. So what is your identity? What's the value you feel for your profession? What's your vision engagement? Where are you going with your life? Who do you want to become? And then what's your value? So what I was just talking about with the ninja loan is a huge value that banking provides. That value, do you feel like there's a huge value? I feel there's a huge value in what I do. I will never change what I do. So this is and then when you score yourself on this, you get a scoring and it starts to tell you what you should do or what you shouldn't do. It just sounds like, we're just created this. This is perfect for you, Sorry for that if it's too long. But the purpose why I showed you that is to say, what is driving the change, and are you overreacting? Are you underreacting? What's the right amount of change for you? And minimizing that will help you, will maximize your success. Minimizing your change will maximize your success.
I see. That really clarifies a lot of things. It's a search for the right change, I guess, and minimizing it.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Shane.
Yeah, thanks.
We have reached an hour, Shane. So
No,
there are a lot of
sad.
questions, but
So sad. I don't want to go, but we have to, because we have of course a business to run. So we have other things and other projects, and our clients are calling us. So we have to go. Is there one last question before I leave, or?
there are two from Mr. Sherian.
Oh my God, two? Okay. President, there are several overhaul candidates for the big. How can one showcase this without being pretentious in the eyes of a recruitment team? Okay, so let's just answer this last question and we'll call it. So the way to answer, so basically what he's saying is, how do you, how do you showcase your skills without being pretentious? Sorry, I can't pronounce that. What you want to do is create thought leadership content. So really create your own blog or create your own website or create like a short article. Let me show you what I love. This guy, hold on one second, Ritesh, Ritesh, he does such a great job. If I can show you guys, I'll just showcase what my friend Retail Ritesh does. So this is a post that Ritesh makes on his blog or whatever, or his Spotify episode. So he is just co-branding himself with another person. So it's not all about him. And he has a discussion with this lady. What's her name here? Miss Heike, or however you pronounce it, Miss Wilson, let's say. And then he's talking about brand strategies. So he's co-branding himself, talking with other specialists, creating content, and tackling the really important issues. And that's how you would do it. That's really a home and run. It's Retail Ritesh. You can check him out online. And he's actually been attending my sessions back from like 2008, 2009, known him for a long time. And so the creating thought leadership content is the answer, and getting out there and try and move away from, can I get a job, to how can I make a contribution in my profession? How can I make a contribution in my industry? Change the way you think, change the way you act, change the way people are going to perceive you. I promise you, if you start from this moment, you get off this call and you ask yourself, what can I do to help my industry become better? What can I put out there to help my industry grow? And you create that content, that's going to answer that question, and it's going to be a game changer for you. Just like Retail Ritesh. Retail Ritesh is not trying to make content like, hey, look at my CV, let's talk about my career. He's like, hey guys, here's someone who has great strategy. Let me share this with you. This is how you should be managing your retail business. Well, guess what happens when someone owns a retail business? They're like, we need to hire Retail Ritesh. That's what you want to do. So guys, I'm so sad that it's over. I have to go. I wish we could spend more time, but go to ownmycareer.com. Let me just give you the website, and come and join us on there. And there's also a WhatsApp group that you can connect through right through the website, goes right to my mobile phone. So any questions, we're here to help, and see you next Wednesday. Please share the link for the session if anybody wants to share it. Let's get as many people in as we can. Let me just put it in the chat box, the link, if you guys want.
Yeah, just a question about the link. Is it going to be the same link for all the future Zoom calls?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
We got the same link, and you can post it everywhere, and we'll get as many people as we can. So thanks again. I'm very sad to go. and wishing you guys all the best with your job search. Remember, it's your career, so own it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
And
Shane.
Thanks, everyone.
bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't know how to end this now.